In this topic, we're going to cover emotional intelligence, how to master your emotions. This is, to me, the most important topic that we could possibly discuss, because if you have this skill and if you can see it like a skill, if you can see this as literally a muscle that you can strengthen and not just a this happens to me and my life sucks kind of thing, this will be the make or break difference in your life. I'm going to share 3 techniques for you today to get your mind and your emotions and your body integrated as one to help put you into the best state and the best mood that you can possibly be in. So you can do your best work, you can impact more people, you can spread joy and cheer and happiness more frequently than you currently do. And no matter what's going on in your life, no matter what's going on in the world around you, you can live with more joy. So let's get to it. All right, tip number 1 is to begin to master your physiology. So pay attention to the connection between what your body does and how you feel. So if you're sitting down, if you're lying down, notice how that impacts how you feel compared to if you're standing up, walking, going for a light jog, going for a full-out sprint. There is a direct connection between the two. The mistake that I made for so long with this, it sounds stupid, but it's amazing how human beings operate. The mistake that I made was I always segmented the two. Like when I was exercising and working out, I was doing that. I guess I knew hypothetically this will help me feel better, but I was doing it primarily for my physical well-being, right? Just to feel healthier, to look better, and just to have a healthier lifestyle. I wasn't thinking about how that affected how I felt emotionally. And when I was doing emotional work, when I was trying to put myself into a better mood, I wasn't thinking about my body at all. I was just sitting there thinking, like, how can I think my way to better emotional health? But the mistake came in isolating the two. And what you want to do is bring them together. Like you want to see how your body and your emotions are one and the same, how one directly impacts the other. If you can see them chained together this way, you'll realize that if you want to affect your emotions, affect your body first. Your physiology is the first and easiest gateway in. Try this experiment. Just roll with me on this. Just go with me on this one. The next time you feel like crap, stop and notice, what is your body doing? Are you sitting down on a couch? Are you lying down on a couch? Odds are you're sitting or lying down. The next time you feel great or better than usual, ask yourself, wait, stop, what am I doing with my body? Odds are you are in some kind of movement. You are either walking, jogging, standing, you're at the very least moving your body in some way. Now, I'm not saying that you should be perpetually in motion, but there is a direct correlation, and a lot of science backs this. A lot of research backs the relationship between moving your body and how well you feel. The fastest way to change your emotional state is to change what you do with your body. If you change your breathing and start going into deeper breaths from your diaphragm, if you slow down your body language, if you physically move your body, if you go for a run or even a light walk, if you dance, if you do something ridiculous that you normally wouldn't do with your physical body language, all those things affect how you feel. And this is the fastest doorway to a higher emotional state. It's the simplest, easiest thing you can do. The next time you feel like crap, just change something, one of those things that we just talked about, with your body language. Tip number 2 is to gain awareness around your self-talk. So we talk to ourselves all day long, but most people they hear of the self-talk, they take it as the gospel truth, and then that's it. And we don't observe the self-talk enough. We don't go meta to the self-talk. If you can gain awareness, not just around what your self-talk is telling you, but you can gain awareness around how it's saying that in the first place, you can have a breakthrough with your emotional state. Let me explain what I mean here, because we're starting to get a little out there, right? When you are engaged in self-talk, just start to pay attention to it. Just start to notice, if you can, like a switch. I'm engaged in self-talk right now. I'm talking to myself again. What am I telling myself? And how certain am I feeling? Like how much conviction is there in that self-talk? How am I feeling so certain that everything in my life is screwed up or I'm not gonna get what I want? When I had the most depressive periods in my life, when I was the most unhappy, my self-talk was loud, it was certain, and it was shouting down at me all the time. And it was belittling the hell out of me. And I noticed when I started just, without trying to change it, just being aware of it in the first place, like being aware of where it was coming from. And here's something that's really interesting that I've learned. And if you pay attention, you'll probably realize the same thing. Most of your negative self-talk, the tone, the tempo, the volume, and even where it comes from, like for me, I can literally hear, it's almost like someone shouting down at me, probably came from an authority figure or a parent when you were very little. And in your mind, mapped that across into your own self-talk. So what you're really hearing is not even your own voice telling you that you're worthless, you're never going to amount to anything, and that you're a failure. That's your mom or your dad coming through your thoughts, believe it or not. So just check with yourself. Like, where does your self-talk come from? Does it come from behind you? Does it come from in front of you? Is it like me and it comes from above you? And what's the tone of voice? Is it warm and friendly like this, like you can do what you want to accomplish? Or is it coming down like this, like you stupid idiot? What's the difference in the tone there? How fast is that self-talk coming in? Just paying attention to how you're doing self-talk, that awareness in and of itself can help you now shift out of it. Because of course, once you have awareness, now you can start to consciously change it. Until you're consciously aware of what's going on in your mind or in your neurology, you can't change it. But once you have that awareness, now you can start to make shifts. You can start to practice and strengthen. All right, I don't like this self-talk. This self-talk sucks. Let me change it up. Let me practice self-talk from a different tone of voice, saying different things from a different location, and see how that affects me. And you can start to shift how you talk to yourself. Tip number 3 is my favorite technique with this. It's the mind the gap technique. And this comes from my book, Unshakable Swagger. I wrote this book 10 years ago. It's a book all about confidence. And for me, I spent so much of my life unconfident, unsure of myself, awkward, socially anxious. I was the exact opposite of confident. I had to train my mind to become confident. And this book documents my journey, and it gives some of my best strategies for doing that. One of the strategies from the book is called the mind the gap technique. Most things that happen to us in the outside world, our brain creates this immediate interpretation. And it happens so quickly that that first interpretation becomes the only possible truth. In other words, what just happened can only mean this one thing, and that's it. And then it's like all other possibilities, all other potential meanings are just gone in that instant. For example, if someone cuts you off in traffic, that guy's an asshole, and that's it. That is the only interpretation. But what if it didn't have to be that way? What if we started paying attention to this little gap? It's like nanometers thick, but it's there. And it's this tiny little gap between what happens out there and what our brain tells us it means. That gap is a very real thing, and most people ignore it completely. I did. But if you can pay attention to it, you can actively choose what's happening out there actually means for you in your life. You can choose how you are interpreting it. You can choose how you respond to it. Because yes, maybe one possible interpretation is that guy is an asshole. But maybe, just maybe, his wife is about to give birth to a baby and they're late for the hospital. No matter what is going on, you can literally choose a completely different interpretation. Some of the pushback you might have with this, that other people have given me with this, that I myself have thought of is, well, doesn't that mean you're ignoring reality? If you're constantly reinterpreting things that just benefit you, at some point, it's not benefiting you and you're just being an ostrich and sticking your head in the sand. Well, at that point, the interpretation wouldn't benefit you to ignore reality completely. The most beneficial interpretation is going to be one in which you confront the reality of it, but still have the presence of mind to decide how that helps you. Even if it hurts, even if it sucks, even if it's painful, you can still ask yourself an empowering question. Like, how does that still help me? How does that help me be a better person? It might suck right now, but how can I create a meaning around this that helps me be a better person? No matter what happens to you, you can still confront the reality of what's going on and choose a meaning that strengthens you, that strengthens your conviction. There's a fourth bonus tip I'll give you that piggybacks off the last one, and it's to go read this book. Go read Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. This book is on the top 25 most important books you have to read. It's on like a million of those lists. Go read the book if you haven't already. If you have, reread it. This book is from a Holocaust survivor. A man lost his entire family to the Holocaust. He could have been very pessimistic, very negative. He could have even committed suicide after surviving all of this. But Viktor Frankl became a staunch optimist. And the way that he did that was because in those dark days, he discovered that no matter what happened to him, no matter what was going on, he always had the freedom to choose how to respond. He had the freedom to choose how he would feel, what he would make things mean for him, despite of how horrible, what most people would determine is just awful coming in from the outside world. He chose a more positive interpretation on it. And look how it served him. And look at the book he wrote and look how he's impacted the hundreds and thousands and millions of people that have read that book. You don't have to survive something so awful to develop that staunch optimistic mindset. But if you can just take this into account, if you can understand that how you respond to what's happening to you and the brain and how your self-talk reacts to it, you have the power to cultivate a stronger emotional relationship. This is how you develop emotional mastery. This is how you stay more even keel. So take these tips into your consideration, and I hope they help you develop more emotional intelligence. That's it for this video. If you liked it, give it a like. Please stick around. We've got a lot more videos to come. I'll see you in the next one. All right.